Okay. Oh. Okay. Hi, everybody. So we are with a guest today. It is Avery Bishop. Just a
Hello.
little bit about her. She is a law student. She's actually graduating soon in the next couple months. She also does beauty pageants. She does some modeling and such on the side. Big TikTok law school star. Yeah, so this is Avery. If you want to give a little elevator pitch about yourself of what you think is important for people to know for the topic, go for
Yeah,
it.
sure. It's nice to meet you all. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Avery. I'm a 3L graduating in December. More importantly, I'm a first generation law student. So I was running around with my head cut off when I was applying for law school with no one to guide me. And I downloaded TikTok during the peak of the pandemic because I felt alone and isolated. I also wanted some sort of creative space that was independent of law school. And ever since then, I have essentially skyrocketed into a weird influencer status across many social media platforms. So I'm excited to be here today and talk about the really important intersection of the legal industry and mental health.
Yes, yeah, and thank you so much for coming. I was also a first generation law student, so I had no idea what I was doing applying either. I actually used some of your TikTok tips for help when I
Oh,
was doing applications last year, so it was very helpful. So we're thankful for you.
I'm glad. I'm glad. It's all about
Yes.
making the industry more accessible.
Yes, absolutely. Especially because for like first generation law students or even like first generation college students, you
Mhm.
really have no idea what you're getting into in applications. So everything helps.
Absolutely agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like Avery said, our topic today is the legal field and law school and mental health. So, we're going to talk a bit about why that's important, how it should be talked about more than it is, kind of how this affects people in law school, and then how it will affect you continuing after law school once you enter your career. So, that's
Mhm.
kind of the layout for the episode today, everybody.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, yeah, let's do it. So we're gonna jump right into it. So, I just want to start out by talking about like why it's an important thing to discuss.
Sure.
So, like, oh yeah, no, go ahead. You can start
Oh,
out.
okay. Oh, we can like fight.
You have some-
We'll fight for the first word. Mental health, specifically in the legal industry, has only recently been talked about, right? It is a recent phenomenon that many older generations have realized, oh, this is impacting not only partners in law firms, but it also impacts law students. And so a lot of the conversation right now is very fresh. It's very new. So many law schools are not very well equipped to talk about it or to create accessible resources for law students who are dealing with mental health issues. And, in a larger picture, it's not just about the legal industry, right? Many of these mental health issues begin at home, especially if we just talked about how we were both first generation law students. I am also from an Asian American community. So my mom doesn't even think mental health exists. And so having these conversations to begin with is the first step in making sure that we address a lot of those mental health issues within the educational systems.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was actually thankful that my law school during orientation week, they actually did do a mental health panel one day,
Oh,
which I
nice.
thought was amazing. It's not something I would have necessarily expected from my school, but they kind of let us know about resources that our school specifically had, and
Mhm.
then resources that are accessible for attorneys as well and law students.
Yeah.
There's one called the New York something I cannot remember the name of right now, but it's like a hotline that lawyers and law students and judges can all call if they're like struggling with their mental health, and they have like crisis counselors on the line
Mhm.
specifically to help people in the legal field. And then my school also has like a counseling center. But outside of that, I know not all schools have those things. So it's
Yeah,
not always accessible for everyone to find what they need. So it's
absolutely.
important to start the conversation to be like, oh, like this is something we should talk about. It's
Mhm.
not bad to struggle with mental health. It's like a known thing in the industry. So I'm just happy that it's coming more to light now so that
Yeah,
less people will struggle, because some of the statistics that I saw that they showed like in our presentation were
they're
pretty
shocking.
concerning. They're
Mhm.
shocking. I wrote a couple of them down like to mention here. And for law students, 25% of law students are at risk for alcoholism, which
Yeah,
is
that
mental
one
health
got me.
struggles. Yeah, I didn't
I
expect that.
did.
Yeah, that was a big one. And then 17% of law students suffer from depression, 37% suffer from anxiety, somewhere from mild to severe. And then 6% of law students report having suicidal thoughts in the past year.
Mm,
So it's a lot of like tough statistics that get even worse once you're in the practicing legal field. It's 25% then are at risk. I'm sorry, 28% suffer from depression, 19% have severe anxiety, and
mm.
11.4% had suicidal thoughts in the past year. So it's definitely a big issue. And like the more it's talked about, the more we can address it and help people to not be like struggling with these things on their own.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, that's like why it's important. And then I would also just mention that there's like some stigmas surrounding mental health in general, and even more so in the legal field.
Yeah, I feel that it's
Yeah.
so competitive to have this specific facade of always having yourself together, always being
Yes.
on top of your homework and your
Hmm.
assignment. And that
Yeah.
creates a really toxic culture in law school specifically. Not
Hmm.
this is independent of the legal industry because I
Yeah.
obviously neither of us have worked in it just
Yeah.
yet.
No.
But in law school, there is such a competition to get the best grades, to speak up in class, and to do well. When in reality, many of us are scared and experiencing aspects of imposter syndrome, anxiety, helplessness, and it just lends itself to a more competitive aspect of the law school system. And the unfortunate reality is that there's not many avenues you can take to avoid it, right? It's
Yeah.
just going to exist. And you have to acknowledge that it exists, right? Imposter syndrome, competition aspects, having to get really good grades and comparing yourself to others, acknowledge it, and then just let it exist and brush it off your shoulders. At least that's what I do. I had my first year of law school. Um, I experienced my first week of law school walking in and thinking that I was the most dumb and illiterate person on the face of the planet. Everyone in my first year contracts class all talked as if they were trying to one up each other with their resumes and their achievements. A lot of students would try to slip in, like, oh, I interned on the Hill with the president this past summer. And I was like, I didn't ask you. LOL. But that's the kind of culture that law school is. And hopefully we are changing it for the better, where we're not constantly competing with one another.
Yeah, no, I hope so. At my school specifically, I've actually found it to be less competitive than I would have expected it to be. And I
Mm,
think it's because my school really works on encouraging us not to compete as much and help each other more. They
mm,
did like lots of talks on it during orientation. So they're trying to like kind of get rid of that issue. It's always going to be a bit competitive because we are competing for the same jobs and internships, which do have a lot to do with where you rank in your class.
mm,
But my school is at least trying to get rid of like the outward presentation of the competitiveness. I feel like, um, you know, the saying where they say, like, look left, look right, one of you will be gone by the third year, like, one of you won't graduate. My
mm,
school, like, told us that saying during orientation and then said, that's not true here. Like, don't worry about it. So I feel like they're doing their best to like create this sense of community where we're all there to like encourage each other to do better. And they're always like, everybody's going to get a job. You don't have to worry so much about not ever getting a job. Like, it's going to work out. So just help each other. You're going to be each other's peers. So you don't want to create enemies. You're going to
mm.
help each other in the long run. So I appreciated that about my school. But definitely, like, no matter what, there is going to be that issue of competitiveness. And then also the facade of like, oh, I have to be perfect. I have it all together. I
Mm,
feel like, especially in like the law school, because you're going into the legal field, it's because your job is to like help other people. So you feel like you have to be put together in order for other people to almost trust that you can help them. Because
mm,
if you admit that like you're struggling, why would they think that you can help them? But that's just not actually the case.
No,
Yeah.
it's clear, and at least from prior experience,
Hmm.
if you are experiencing some sort of mental health issue or anxiety or imposter syndrome, just to, speak it into existence and let people know, there's really
Hmm.
no problem in telling people what you are going through, because then they'll respect you for your honesty and trustworthiness. And
Yeah.
that's when you bring in more clients as an attorney. That's how you
Hmm.
build relationships with future partners. It's trustworthiness and honesty. And when you are experiencing those things, the first thing you should do is, I know it's really difficult, is to find the courage to speak up and say, hey, I'm taking a mental health day. I'm experiencing some
Hmm.
anxiety. Can you email me tomorrow? Those kinds of things are, at least in my experience, again, many law firms are open to acknowledging and accepting those types of days.
Yeah, and I love that. I feel like that's a really big like generational shift with more younger attorneys and such, and then like us coming out of law school, you very soon and me in a few years, that
Mm,
there's been like a big generational shift in general about the way we view mental health, which is great for everybody. It's no longer as stigmatized as it used to be, and hopefully will at some point not be stigmatized at all. But yeah, so I think it's great that more companies are open to that,
mm.
because it just helps everybody to have like a more fulfilling career and life, to help with the balance of everything. So
Right.
that's amazing.
Yeah, we don't have time to play around with hiding all these mental health issues anymore. Like, there's
No.
no point in
Yeah.
playing that game.
Yeah, no, there's no point to it, because if you admit it, you can address it, you can get better, and then you're able to like perform better at work, you're able to be happier at home, and then everything overall is just better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so the next thing we're going to go into is like specifically how mental health is affected by law school. So like Avery mentioned, the competitiveness and like the, oh my god, the word is slipping my brain right now.
We were talking about competition, imposter
Oh,
syndromes.
imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I feel like those are the two biggest pieces that affect people in law school. And like specifically, I will touch back on the imposter syndrome. I definitely still experience imposter syndrome sometimes. And I feel like that can also be because there are certain people in classes that like to talk all the time. They're
Ah,
always the ones
better.
volunteering. And so you'll think that everybody in the class is smarter than you sometimes, because those few people are always answering. So they seem like they know everything. But honestly, when it comes down to it, they might just be more outgoing, where they're just more willing to volunteer to answer things. And they are not necessarily smarter than you. You're kind of all on the same playing field, especially coming into your first year. None of you know anything. And that's like a good thing to remind yourself of going through law school, especially that first year. You're all figuring it out together.
Absolutely, yeah. And the really cool thing when I had started out in law school is that those few weeks were difficult, having
Mhm.
to acknowledge that I will most certainly never be the most intelligent person or the most
Mhm.
beautiful person or the tallest person, right?
Yeah,
And it's very
too.
similar to competing in sports and pageants, right? There's
Mhm.
always going to be a better team. There's always going to be a more skilled speaker or something. And
Mhm.
you really have to, or at least I had to, come to terms with this idea that I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. Like, I could
Yeah.
care less what anyone else is doing. I could care less if someone is more tall or more pretty or more
Mhm.
intelligent or more well spoken. So long as I'm striving to be the best version of who I am and who I'm meant to be, that's all that matters. And imposter syndrome will never go away. Like
Mhm.
Erin said, she experiences it still. And I do too,
Mhm.
as a 3 years later after starting law school. And that's okay, because everyone else is experiencing it, even though people might not be upfront about it. The most intelligent person in my school who will graduate valedictorian, I know for a fact, sees a therapist and is very
Mhm.
open about his mental health. And so I think he's leading by example, that we should all have open conversations, and that
Mhm.
accept the fact that imposter syndrome will always be something that is in the back seat of our car while we're on a road trip, but they don't necessarily have to be the driver of the car.
Yeah, I love that metaphor. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And like
You're
imposter
welcome.
syndrome will be back there.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll forget they're there. We're jamming out to music on the
Hmm.
radio. We're going to a fantastic vacation, right? Like we're
Hmm.
on the trip together, but most of
Hmm.
the time they'll be in the back seat and we just have to manage it.
Yeah, no, that's so true because it will come and go. Like sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally killing it. And then I look around and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like
Oh,
I'm the dumbest person in this class. Like
yeah.
even so, I had a take home midterm this morning. So yeah,
Ooh,
right.
like,
Ungraded though. So I was like,
okay, not too bad.
not too bad. It was ungraded, but we're not even getting feedback on it. So at that point, I was like,
Why
eh,
even do it?
exactly, why even do it? But I still like put in the effort to do my
Yeah.
best on it when it came to it. But like prior to it, I was like, I don't know what's going on in this class. I'm totally gonna get every question wrong on this midterm. And then I like opened it and started to do it, and I was like, wait, I actually know what's going on.
Mm.
So it was like the imposter syndrome beforehand telling me like you're the one in the class that doesn't know what's happening. But then it turned out okay. So you'll get like those peaks of, oh no, I'm doing really well. And then those lows of, I'm the dumbest person in the class. But you're probably not the dumbest person in the class. And it's okay if you're not the smartest
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's not easy to be the smartest person. Like Avery said, there's basically always someone smarter than you.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. And there's many ways that you can avoid or delay those waves of imposter syndrome
Mhm.
and mental health issues.
Yeah.
For example, one way that I and my law school encourages us to take breaks is to go outside and walk.
Mhm.
And not to do like excruciating exercising. And while that's nice, right? Working out, having a workout
Mhm.
schedule, sometimes just going out and walking for 20 minutes in between classes, walking with your professor during an office meeting, walking with your study group and speaking out maybe note cards for a class is a great way to get a breath of fresh air, to move your body, and to set your mindset correctly for when you are doing very stressful homework assignments and trying to stay on top of readings. That's one way to avoid those waves of anxiety, imposter syndrome, or whatnot. Another way is to say no to more things, not to
Mhm.
take on as many things on your plate as possible. This goes back to what we first talked about competition. It
Mhm.
also really felt when I started law school that we were all trying to do as much as possible. Like we wanted to do everything that anybody asked us to do, all the organizations, all the representation positions, all of the after school events and networking opportunities. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do every single one of them.
Mhm.
Okay, be strategic in what you choose to do, what you choose to be involved in. Choose things that fulfill you, that you're excited about, that you're passionate about, and don't burn out trying to do all of these things simply because Bob from section 2 is doing 25 organizations. What you're doing is more than enough. Take breaks and say no often.
Yeah, no, I love that. One of my friends in law school actually said that a 2L or a 3L told her that for your first year, you should get involved in not all of the clubs and organizations. They said get involved in four things, but two of them just be like general members in the club, and then try to actually get involved in two that you care about, like whether it's helping organize the event or a panel. But so I thought that rule that her older friend gave her of just like four organizations was a good rule of thumb to go by as to not overwhelm yourself thinking you have to be involved in everything.
Yeah, I
So,
like that
yeah.
too. And our law school specifically, I don't know about yours,
Yeah.
but they don't let 1Ls do any organizations, any events or competitions our first semester because
Okay.
they know that we all, in addition to trying to compete for grades,
Mhm.
would also compete for organizations and leadership positions. We
Okay.
were not allowed to be a part of any events,
Mhm.
panels, festivals, organizations until our second semester of our first year of law school. And I appreciated that actually,
Yeah.
because during our first semester, we just attended general meetings, like you said, to
Mhm.
learn and to feel which organizations worked best for us so that
Yeah.
when the time came around in spring, we weren't all trying to be a part of 10 to 12 different
Mhm.
competitions, organizations, and teams.
Yeah. No, I love that. My school does not have that rule, but I feel like they should because I think there is this feeling of needing to be like a part of things more than just being in the general body, of feeling like you need to like volunteer to help plan something or volunteer as a representative for the club. So I almost wish my school had that.
Yeah, I
But
really
yeah.
appreciate it. Looking back now, I think that was the right decision. But
Yeah.
during our first semester, I had such a competitive edge. I was like, when do I get to compete for mock trial? Like, when do I get to audition and try out for the teams? And
Yeah.
fortunately, I couldn't do that until the second
Yeah.
semester. All I got to do my fall semester was focus on grades and networking and becoming friends with people in my class.
Yeah.
And that was the best decision for me, especially because of my personality.
Yes. Oh my God, absolutely. I totally feel that. I'm definitely a competitive person too. I feel like I always want to be like doing at least as much as everybody else, if not more, especially being in law school with like the competitive feeling of like, oh, I need to have the most things on my resume so that I have the best resume when it comes to internships and jobs. But that's not always the case. Quality over quantity
Agreed.
can be much better.
Mhm.
Yes. And then oh, when you mentioned the walk thing, it made me think of my dog. So I got a dog prior to law school. That way I would be forced into like having breaks to take her for walks when I'm studying. And
Yeah.
it's worked out amazingly. It like makes me take a break in the middle of the day, like take her for her little afternoon
I
walk and
just
feed
got
her
an
lunch.
Aussie Doodle, and
Oh my God.
the pro tip is not to get a puppy during law school,
Yeah,
apparently.
no.
I did anyways.
Oh my God.
And I got him in the summer though, which was nice
Okay.
because while I was working and interning, I still wasn't over swamped with homework and stuff because it was
Mhm.
work from home. So I
Oh
got to be
yeah.
around him most of the time. But I
Yeah.
agree, having Winston, my Aussie Doodle, as an
Mhm.
excuse to give him like 3 20-minute walks every day.
Yeah.
I'm like closing my rings on my watch all the time without
Oh,
having to like sprint or do any crazy cardio.
yeah.
So I highly recommend getting into walking. I know it sounds lame and like
Yes.
for old people, but it
It's
is the
so
best.
good for you
Yes.
because it gives your brain like a break from whatever you're doing. And if you're walking outside, you get like the fresh air in your face and it just kind of resets you to be
Mhm.
able to then go back in and like be able to work um more, I don't know, just more aligned with your I don't know.
Chakras aligned
Your
with
chakras, thank you. Gets you
the
back in line with everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what else do you do? What are other ways that you like to try to delay and avoid any sort of anxiety or mental health issues? What are things that
Yeah. So I am in therapy, and that is probably best decision ever
yeah.
because then when I know I have something coming up that's going to be stressful, I can like talk with my therapist the week before and we can kind of talk through why it's not as stressful as it used to be, or sorry, as I thought it would be. So definitely talking it through, whether it's like with a therapist or with a friend. I often like talk through things at school with like my friends also in law school. Like if we have an exam coming up and we're stressed about it and we're like, oh, we're going to do terrible. If we kind of talk through where we're all at and we've realized that we're all kind of on the same page, that helps us not to feel that imposter syndrome and to also not be as stressed as the exam or the paper coming up. And then
Mm.
also journaling can help sometimes. I have a cute little journal that has like you set your morning intentions for the day. And it also has you put like down what you're grateful for and then how you're going to accomplish your intention for the day. And then at the end of the day, you get to reflect on something you learned that day, good things that happened that day. And then like it says happy thoughts for the end of the night.
Mm.
And also nighttime doodles. So I'll draw like a little picture of my dog. Not that I'm an artist, they look terrible. But yeah, so I feel like journaling, therapy, or talking it through with a friend, or just like taking a break. If it's at night and you're like, oh, it's too late, I don't want to go for a walk because you might live in a sketchy area, you could take a break and watch like a 20-minute TV show. Be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this one episode and then we'll get back into the grind.
Well, I don't know about that. I would, if I started an episode on Netflix, I would binge it through the whole night. I'm really
Yeah.
bad about that. So I would have to be strategic if I
Yeah.
reward myself with 20 minutes episodes of TV shows.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. Some people can't control it. It depends on the day. If I know I have to do something,
Yeah.
I can turn it back off after if I'm like, I'm just watching this one episode while I eat dinner and then we're like going back to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like, let me look at my list. I think that's most of what we had here.
A lot of the law school chunk already without
Yeah.
even having to go down the bullet points.
Yeah, we didn't even have to go down the bullet points just because it like flowed naturally, which we
I was eyeing it the whole time. I was like, how can I work in the next bullet point without
Yes.
pause?
Yes. No, we love it. Oh, and then
Yeah.
oh, something I had that I don't think was on the list that I gave you, I added it after,
Sure.
was advice for like pre-law or pre-professional grad school students of what they can kind of do now to help with their mental health later. So say they're starting law school next year, what are like healthy practices they could get into now that would assist them when they actually start?
Some healthy practices that pre-law students can get into, or pre-law graduate students, I would say getting into a routine. It can be the most simple routine. It doesn't have to be wake up at 5 a.m., get in a 2-hour workout session, grind, and then eat oatmeal for breakfast. The routine
No.
can literally be your skincare routine in the morning, something
Yes.
therapeutic, something self-care that you do every day that is non-negotiable. Mine is sleep. I do not ever sacrifice sleep for anything. If I know I have a deadline on Thursday and I have to turn it in, I get it done because I know that I want to get in my bed by 10 o'clock. No ifs, ands, or buts. My sleep is what I prioritize. And before you go to law school, before you go to graduate school, set those priorities, your non-negotiables. Is that time with your significant other? Is it time with your grandparents? Is it time to work out if you're a really big workout person? Or is it sleep like me? And from there, you can create your routine. And again, it doesn't have to be the most magnificent routine, but it can be something along the lines of every Sunday, I do my house chores, or every morning, I do my skincare routine. Simple things like that, that you become adjusted to before you enter the law school space will save you a lot of time and a lot of stress.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I did prior to starting law school is that, well, I was living in the suburbs with my parents. So I did not have to actually,
The burbs.
the burbs. So I did not actually have to take my dog out for like walks in the morning to take her out to the bathroom. I could just like let her out into the yard. So what I did like a month before starting school is that I started taking her for a walk every morning. So that became like my morning routine. We would get up, we would go for a walk, we'd come back, I'd feed her breakfast, I'd feed me breakfast, and then we could like start our day with whatever we had going on that day. And I think doing that prior to starting helped me like have that already set in stone. I was like, this is what we do in the morning, so I have to get up and do it. And it's walking again, so it starts you with a good mindset, you get the fresh air and everything. But yeah, so I do that. And then every Sunday I've started now, I wash my sheets every Sunday.
You're one of those people. I've always wondered, like, how often you're supposed to wash sheets. I do it at least like 2 to 3 times a month. How do you do it?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand. Do you run out of detergent? Like, how much detergent do you use?
I use Tide Pods. So I'll like do my sheets and then toss in like other laundry with it, like towels, socks, and stuff.
When you say sheets, are you talking like duvet covers as well?
No,
and your
just
comforter? Okay.
No.
Okay, then we do the same thing then.
Okay, yeah.
Everything.
Oh my God, no. I do sheets and pillowcases. I'm actually allergic to dust, so my allergist recommended that I wash them that often, but I didn't used to be good at keeping up with it. But every week now I take my sheets, and unfortunately, because I am in a New York City apartment, I do not have a washer and dryer in my apartment. So I have to walk to the laundromat. So it's like, it's really a process, but I've gotten myself in the routine of it now. Every Sunday, I take apart my bed, I grab the sheets, I grab the pillowcases, I grab whatever other laundry I might have. I go to the laundromat, I pop it in, I come back.
Dang, girl. I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be in New York in December.
Oh,
So we
really?
should meet up together. If you're there,
Yeah.
you might be gone for
Yeah.
winter break or something, but
Yeah.
for some reason this will be my fourth time in the city this year.
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
need
Oh
to
yeah. I
chill
saw
out.
you went I think you went like a couple months ago. I think I saw you post about
I
it.
went back in December too, but we should definitely meet up and
Yeah.
you can show me the laundromat routine.
Oh my God. Yes, I'll show you the laundromat routine. No, it is so funny. I absolutely hate having to walk to the laundromat, but it's fine. I take my dog with me sometimes, so she gets like a little extra walk in.
It's a good
But
break. And you can bring like a
yeah,
book or something, study
yes,
or work on some homework.
yeah, absolutely. And also, I just feel like I sleep better in clean sheets.
Me too.
So I get like my best night's sleep the night that I wash my sheets. I get into bed and I knock out so hard. So it helps with my sleep too, because I'm terrible with going to bed on time.
No, yeah, sleep is so important. And that just goes back to our point of, what are ways pre-law students and
Yeah,
graduate students can help their mental health later. And that I'm such a research junkie that I
me
have
too.
read so much on sleep.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone understands that in the future, 50 to 100 years now, we're going to look
Mhm.
back at sleep deprivation like we do at cigarettes. Like that's
Yeah.
how negatively impacted our bodies and our energy
Yeah.
and everything is when we don't
Mhm.
get like at least 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But I understand that people have crazy schedules and sometimes it
Yeah.
just doesn't work out. But
Mhm.
again, find your priorities, write them down, and create a routine that works best for you.
Yeah, no, and lack of sleep like negatively affects your mental health in so many ways. Like so many mental illnesses are made worse by not sleeping enough. Like I have ADHD, and apparently one of the number one things to help with that is
Mm,
sleeping enough. And I do not currently do that every night. So we're
mm.
working on it. We're
Yeah, it's a
working on getting
process.
back in like a good schedule. But yeah, and then like anxiety and depression, everything is made worse by not sleeping enough. So
Mm.
everybody should really prioritize their sleep, I feel like.
Yep, I'll hunt you down. If you're not sleeping enough, you're for sure lost. I'm gonna haunt you in your nightmares.
Yes, I had a roommate in college that would pull all-nighters to study for exams. And I don't always go to bed on time, but I could not take an exam without sleeping. Like, I can't even imagine thinking of doing that. Like, once it hits like midnight, that's already too late. But like it's later than I'm supposed to go to bed. But I'm still like I'm going to bed at midnight regardless because I need to get at least 6 hours of sleep. Otherwise, I won't be able to function in an exam.
Nope,
So people
same
that do
way.
that scare me.
I don't know how they do it.
I
Mm,
really do not know.
I'm not
Very
interested
terrifying.
in
No,
knowing.
I'm not interested in knowing either. I have never pulled an all nighter, and I don't think I ever want to.
No, the last time I did one was in undergrad, and that was for like a stats class. With
Oh my
law school,
God.
I feel that there's so many resources out there that if you, for some reason, don't get a full reading in,
Mhm.
or
Oh, yeah.
you like had an event prior to, there are like there's Quimby, you can borrow upper
Quimby,
class
yes.
outlines. Just like don't stay up till 3 trying to read
Doing
about
reading. Yeah.
murder. Yeah.
No, if you have a paper, I get that. But
Yeah.
if it's like
That's
a
something you
reading,
can, yeah, agree.
yeah,
That's not something you can just skim, right? No.
no. But if it's a reading, like Quimby is my favorite thing. I'll watch the videos like while I eat dinner if I know I don't have time to do a reading, or
Mm.
even to help understand a reading if I know I don't have time to do like a thorough reading of it. And Quimby, it is the best thing that's ever happened to me. My friends and I got an account together like a month and a half ago now.
Mhm. So
Life
smart to
changing.
share it too. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
money.
Oh my God, yeah, it's expensive. We got like the middle package too. It wasn't even like the premium. I think they call it gold. We got like the
Mhm.
silver package, and
Hey,
it
but
was
it
still
goes
very
towards
expensive.
all of the monthly fees goes towards getting a bar prep course for free at the end. So that's nice.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, like your monthly
Okay.
payments pay
Yeah.
down a full bar course, which Quimby, no one really uses Quimby as a bar prep course, but it'll be
Yeah.
nice to have resources.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's all I had for like law school and
Sure.
pre-law. And then just going in a bit to mental health in the legal field, like in your career. We obviously can't speak too much on that since we have not done that yet.
Oh, I did, however, Um, During the spring of my second year, I
Mhm.
worked in a legal clinic for women who are domestically abused, as well
Mhm.
as their children. So that was probably the closest I got to
Yeah.
working in a very heavy area of the law.
Mhm.
And during that time, I actually increased the amount of sessions I spoke with my therapist on a
Oh,
weekly
okay.
basis, because 2 months in, I realized that it was some really deep situations. And
Mhm.
for those of you who don't know what a legal clinic is and are going to law school, there are opportunities in law school where you get a baby bar card. So you are supervised by an attorney and you can represent a client in the court of law. And my very first client in my entire life was a woman and her two very young children who were domestically abused by their father. And the whole spring semester, I was going into court back and forth, battling her husband, who was emotionally, verbally abusive, physically abusive. I mean, he like charged at the police guard in the courtroom, and it was extremely scary and anxiety
Mhm.
inducing. So I could not imagine what my client was put through,
Yeah.
right? This woman who was taking care of two young children, who wanted what was best for them and whatnot. And for me, even my legal clinic professor was fantastic about encouraging us to speak to her if we ever felt emotionally drained, or if we
Mhm.
felt something was too heavy for us to take on as a student. And then she also encouraged going to see a counselor and a therapist, because we were working with real life people at that time. Yes, you're a law student, but now you have someone's life in your hands, which is a
Yeah.
lot to deal with. And so, um, during that time, I increased the amount of sessions I spoke with my therapist. I spoke about it a lot more with my roommate, who I felt very safe talking to about. And
Mhm.
you just got to take it day by day. And unfortunately, you do have to compartmentalize a lot of experiences that you have.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you'd become too attached. For example, her children were just so much fun to be around. I loved them. They were so young. And every
Mhm.
time we went to speak with them about the issue or about prepping for court, I got to spend time like coloring with them on the ground of their living room floor. So
Mhm.
you just also have to learn when to compartmentalize those relationships and emotions, so that you can get the work done and do it so that your life is not impacted mentally or emotionally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, last year I actually worked in a small law firm
Mm,
as like a legal secretary, but one of the areas of law that they practiced was family law, and that included divorces and domestic violence. A couple of the attorneys worked for this program called Dove, so they were representing victims pro bono in court.
mm,
And I know one of the attorneys, he had previously been a criminal defense attorney for the public defender. And he came into our firm and started doing family law. And, like, as a public defender, like, you're dealing with a lot of heavy stuff sometimes too. But
right.
he found that family law, with all of the abuse within the families and just like the fighting that happens in divorce, was actually more difficult for him to handle than being a public defender was. He was getting emotionally drained and like too attached to a
Mm,
lot of the cases, which is sad, but it just goes to show that like you do have to learn to like compartmentalize, and you do have to prioritize your own mental health, because if you're getting drained by your clients' lives, you're not going to be able to best serve them.
no,
So it's not going to help either of you. So if you find that you can't compartmentalize, that's when it's probably the time to start seeing a therapist or a counselor if you are not yet. And they can help you deal with that and figure out what to do to kind of cope and really like handle the emotions that you're feeling with those cases and families.
yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Hard world out there in the legal industry with some certain
Yeah.
aspects of it.
Yeah.
But I always feel that like family, criminal, immigration, those types of law, I mean, the
Hmm.
people who choose to do it, my gosh.
Yeah. No, we did immigration law at the firm that I worked in too, and that could also be heavy sometimes.
Mm,
The partner of the firm was actually telling me that she would represent these children that came to the US to get them these special visas. I can't remember the name of it, but it's that it was just for them to get to stay. Like they got separated from their families, but it was
Mhm.
to help them to stay so that they could like have a good life here. And so like there's also the feel good aspects of that where you get to help kids like that to have a good life and like start new. But there's always the heavy aspects of like the families getting separated and everything. So it's a
It's
lot
certainly,
to take on.
yeah, it's certainly fulfilling. But again,
Yes.
it's all about those attorneys are people who really have to balance mental health, their
Hmm.
families, their personal interests, and their
Yeah.
work. And um, I honestly feel that they don't get paid enough most of the time
Hmm.
to do that kind of work, which is the unfortunate
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah, no, especially immigration. I know that we actually like charge lower hourly fees for immigration clients at our firm because
Good.
they don't always have the most money, so that's good.
Right.
But like you're doing a lot heavier work and not getting as much money for it. But
Mhm.
like it was a nice way to like help out those families. So you win some, you lose some.
Yeah,
But
we're
yeah.
figuring it out. And it's all about
Yeah.
having to throw yourself into it before you can truly make a decision about whether or not you can do it. And it's
Yeah.
okay that if you start family law and you're like, oh my gosh, this is
Hmm.
not for me, then
Yeah.
get out, right? That's okay. There's no shame,
Yeah.
there's no guilt in saying that, it's not for me. I'm going to do a different type of
Hmm.
law. That's okay. People change their mind about different types of law throughout law school 24/7. I do it
Yeah.
on a weekly basis. So.
No, absolutely. I changed my mind twice before even entering law school. I was like, oh, I want to be a prosecutor. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this stuff. And then working in that small law firm, I was like, I thought I wanted to do family law. I was like, yeah, I'm really interested in like learning about the family law and the immigration aspect. And then I got there and I was like, family law is not for me.
Nope, I tried it too, and I was like,
It's not for me. It's for
that's a
some, just
no.
not for all. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are also happier aspects of the law field. Like you can work in law fields that aren't as heavy. So not everybody deals with that. But the workload in the legal field, I would say, still can be like stress and anxiety inducing. So,
Mhm.
regardless of the area of law you practice, kind of learning to have that work life balance, especially when you're starting out, when you might be worked to death a bit, if you're working in a big law firm, especially you have to learn how to set those boundaries and have that balance so that you don't drown in your work and your relationships all kind of get messed up and you yourself are just like not doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about balance.
Yeah. You're walking on a tightrope. You really are.
Yes, honestly. Yeah. Okay. I feel like that's most of what we had for like the content of the main topic today. But
Mm.
we do have two fun little segments at the
Ooh,
end if you
fun.
want to take part.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the first segment that we do is called the "How to Be a Better Person" segment,
Better
and you give like a better person. So you can give a tip of like how to help other people or something good you can do like environmentally.
Oh,
So yeah. So it's just like a fun little
fun.
thing. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I guess let me think.
Hmm.
Do I have two? I have two. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So number one, whoever you meet in your life, starting now and beyond, be kind to them. And I say this because I went and got my hair done with a hairdresser who I had a very nice conversation with her. She found out I went to law school. And as she was trimming my hair, she said, my husband's an attorney and I can hook you up with a job. And you just never know
Hmm.
how people can impact you in your life. I'm not saying be kind because you have an alternative motive and you want
Hmm.
to use someone in the future, but you should
Yeah.
always treat someone the way that you want to be treated. Just kind and genuine.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter who they are. And one day, perhaps in the next 5 or 10 years, they come back with good karma. You just never know. And I'd
Yes.
rather be kind than to be remembered as someone who treated someone where they felt terrible.
Mhm.
My second tip for law school and for specifically being a better person is your first year of law school. I hope that you choose to volunteer your time with some sort of nonprofit organization. I, throughout my first year of law school, volunteered at a food pantry in Dallas, and a food kitchen. I did it like every 2 weeks. It was a 1 hour commitment, and it was just a nice break to get away from the stress of law school and helping out my community. There is so much out there that is not law school. And I know when you start, it feels like all you have to do and all you can do is read, 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 write, write, write. And that's not the case. There is life that exists beyond the law school doors. And it's so important that you invest time in those aspects of your life. Because again, this goes to my first point. You never know that you might meet someone during those volunteer opportunities who can help you out in life. So those are my two good person tips.
I love that. Those were both great. I think you actually hit tips that we haven't hit yet because we do this every week. And I think you really hit some new ones today.
This is nice. Cool.
Yeah, I love that. I was so focused on yours that I forgot to think about mine for today.
Oh, whoops.
Oh no, it's okay. Let's see. Oh, I think I'll do one law school related too. So kind of back on the thing of competitiveness, I'm going to say don't be mean to other people in law school just because you're trying to get ahead of them. And if you see that somebody might be struggling in your class, like they might seem like overwhelmed or something, maybe like ask them if they want to study together sometime. So you can help them out, help them get back on their feet if they've been struggling in that class. They might just need somebody to like sit down and study with and walk through the material. And that actually will help you too, because then like you learn better when you explain to other people, but you'll be helping them just by reaching out and being like, do you want to be a part of our study group? So yeah, that's my tip for today. Help others around you in law school.
Yeah, bring them up with you. Don't leave them.
Yes, absolutely not. Okay, and then our other fun segment is a recommendation of a fun event, place, or activity in New York City. And since you mentioned you've been a few times this year already, I bet you could come up with something.
I am not a professional, but I am a really big foodie. I like to spend a lot of my hard-earned money on trying different restaurants, hole in the walls, whatever. Every time I go to New York, the one place that I go to is in Chinatown. It's called the Great Noodletown Shop.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
this small little corner. It looks a little, you might be persuaded that it's not a restaurant. It's like a laundromat or something. I don't know. But it's on the corner of a Chinatown street, Great Noodle Town Shop, New York City. And you have to go in and get their beef chow mein. Okay. Very good. Highly recommend. And you can easily Google it on your phone. It has thousands of reviews, but it's fantastic food, very cheap. My second thing, if you want to have a great night out, Bathtub Gin in Chelsea is a really cool bar. It's a speakeasy bar that has live music every Thursday night. And it's like a Great Gatsby themed type bar. And they also have like on Tuesdays, I think they have a burlesque show, but I prefer the live music on Thursday.
Okay. I actually haven't been to either of those places. So I'm going to have to go to both of them now.
Oh, I can take you when I go back in December to Bathtub Gin.
Yes. Oh my God. Absolutely. That would be so fun. Yes. Okay. I think my fun activity today is going to be also fun night out theme. It's going to be Carol Place. My roommate, both of my roommates actually had gone last weekend, but then now just this past Friday, they took me there, and it is such a fun bar. It has 2 levels. There's an upstairs and downstairs, and the front's more like just the bar, and it's kind of chill. You can hang out around the bar, and then the back is more like a dance floor vibe. But during the day, it's also a restaurant because they have all the tables like stacked up to the side. So I would recommend Carol Place. They also make pizza like at night while the bar is still open. So like
I have late night munchies all the time.
Yeah, exactly. We went at like midnight, and there was a brick oven right there, and there was a guy putting pizzas in, taking them out. So if you like pizza and a fun time with good music,
that's where I'm going. I go in December.
Yes, absolutely. It was so much fun. But yeah, that's what we have for you guys for the podcast episode today, everyone. So yeah. All right. And Avery, where can everybody follow you?
You can follow me On TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. Everything is under at Avery Bishop, Averie, Bishop, like the chess piece.
Okay, beautiful. And then, as you all know, you can follow us on Instagram if you don't yet legally couture podcast. You can follow me personally on Instagram, erin.lindsay13. And Megan's not with us today, but her name is Megan Sullivan98 on Instagram. So, yeah, all right. We hope you
Thanks
all
for
have
having
a
me.
great day. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.